that's when I knew something was off, where it's like, yo, you did the best month you ever did in training, but you don't even feel fulfilled about it. And you just created something new. And it wasn't even nowhere close. It's $300. You talk about 27 grand compared to $300. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And that's how I knew it wasn't about money for me.
Welcome to Entrepreneurhood, where we break entrepreneurship down into 3 simple pillars: business, lifestyle, and motivation. Our goal is to use our personal experiences as industry leaders to guide and inspire young entrepreneurs to see the lesson in every challenge. Because we understand that companies don't succeed, people do. Now, welcome the leaders of Entrepreneurhood, Leahcim and KB.
Welcome to the neighborhood. You got your boy Leahcim in the building, and I got my brother KB in the building with me. We on episode 48, and we decided to call this one Comeback Season. So I don't know if y'all realize this, but the last episode we dropped was December 26, 2021. So KB, I think that's what, a year and 8 months?
It's been a minute.
Yeah. So, we're very excited to share. A lot has changed in KB and I's lives. We have new experiences. We have new career path. And this episode is going to be catered towards me interviewing KB so we could see what has changed and what's new in KB's life. So, KB, what's new, bro? Like, what's been going on?
Been chilling, man. Maintaining. Well, for starters, I transitioned from the fitness industry into financial literacy. So I retired, in other words.
Wow.
Yeah. Definitely a big difference for me. It's the passion is still there, purpose is still there, but it's a total different ballgame.
Absolutely. And I guess we should probably start from the beginning, bro. Like, because for people who don't know who you are, like, how old are you? How did you retire? What was your first career? I think you should start from the beginning, bro.
All right. So my spirit age is 23. That's what I've been rocking with. But I'm a 30-year-old entrepreneur. And I started personal training at 20. And that's prior to that, I dropped out of college after one semester. So I've been on the fence about what I want to do for a while. So if I have that thought process, I usually go after it and figure it out as I go along the way. So, I was training, started as an Uber trainer, training $6 sessions. And as I eventually, grew my brand and realized my value, I upped my price.
Thank God.
And I became one of the top trainers in NYC. And when I say that, I'm honored to say that. And people have told me that. It's not just me speaking, with my ego. It's like, yo, you're the best. So my whole thing was Team KB, Body by KB, helping women be fit without losing their curves. So, AKA give them the BBL look without the BBL.
That's fire.
So a nickname was called the KBL, which is the KB Brazilian butt lift, whatever. So that was my space. Like, that was my niche, and I loved it with so much passion. I still do love it to this day. But however, as I kept continuing, I just kept seeing the same challenges, and I felt like I wasn't progressing as much as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And as far as fulfillment, it's like, all right, I helped you, for your baby, helped you for your wedding. You come back, I help you again, and it's like you keep getting the way back. Granted, I'm getting paid, but at the same time, I just feel like I'm just solving the same kind of problems. I wanted to solve bigger problems. Wow.
So how big did you get your training business? Like, I know in the beginning it was $6. So I'm pretty sure that wasn't profitable. So I'm sure in order for you to retire or get to a point of retiring, in your 20s, you've had to have done well, right?
Yeah, I've done pretty well. I made multi 6 figures with personal training.
Wow.
And that's me training part-time. I mandated myself not to train more than 15 and 20 hours per week. So yeah, it was a blessing. And that was the kind of, curveball a lot of people didn't expect, because it's like nobody really retires at their peak. Don't lead a game, while you up.
You're right.
But it was really purposeful mission for me, like a fulfillment change. And I had to pray about it to really get the clarity, because I just felt like, does it even feel right? Does it, I feel like I was going to let a lot of people down. A lot of people was counting on me. And, training became therapy at that point, 10 years in the game, where everybody know me for personal training. But yeah, I was doing well, and I wanted more. So I knew it was, to me, the scale, it had to be at volume, or it had to be at clientele. Like, I had to start training celebrities or get my own gym. And I doing the math, I'm like, I don't want neither of all those things. So I don't want to train older elderly people that's just gotta pay because they want to continue living. I don't want to chase around a celebrity and be a celebrity trainer and be known for that, because now I got to devote my life to you. And I didn't want my own gym, because it's like, it's a lot to come with it. And I see what it takes to actually run a brick and mortar business. And I like to be free. So I was like, yo, what else can I do? I don't want to create no products. I'm really, a natural based type trainer. So what else can I do in this space? I already helped over thousands of women transform.
Wow. And what do you know when your retirement date was? When was your retirement date?
I announced it in June. I officially retired December 30th.
Wow.
Of 2022. And that was a lot of tears shed. My end, of course, also from my clients. And yeah, it was definitely a mixed emotions, because not knowing what's next, even though I do have an idea of what I want to do next, but just knowing, like, if I'm leaving something behind that I should actually keep going with.
Jeez. And I feel like that takes a lot of courage, bro. I feel like a lot of people at their peak, it's like, Jordan retiring after winning, his third championship. Like, it just doesn't happen, because, he went and got 3 more. And who's to say that you couldn't, scale the fitness game to 1 million? And you could have if you wanted to, but like you said, you were chasing purpose. Like, what inspired you to transition into the financial literacy? Because it's like, there's a lot of different lanes you could have went, but you chose the financial industry.
I think one, from just recognizing my clients too, because a lot of times, only time people really stop training because they couldn't afford it, or they couldn't, the work schedule changed. Literally, those are the 2 main reasons. People's like, well, KB, if I could afford you, to train with you, or, my job changed my schedule, so I know you only train at certain times. So as I started analyzing with my clients before I even announced retirement, we used to do these check-in calls. So if you're a trainer out there, this is, a tip that helped me, where I created my community, and we always did check-in calls weekly. And during those check-in calls, we wasn't just talking about fitness. We was talking about finances. We was talking about personal development. So all these things tied into my program. And that's why, people were fully engaged, because it's more than just working out. Because I give you the perfect workout plan, but if you're not sure if you're going to have money to pay rent, or if you're not sure that, you want to get your credit right, but you want to get a car and your credit is terrible, it's going to throw you off. So I already knew credit was always important. Budgeting was very important. And just, things like life insurance is important. Buying a house, learning how to do that. And, being realtor part-time for so many years, I was able to help some of my clients, get apartments or, buy a house. So it was always there, but it wasn't never like first base.
Wow. And then with you going from, figuring out that issue, that pain point that your clients were experiencing, how did you get started in the financial game? Like, what was the first step? How did that happen?
So literally, shout out to my boy Glad Credit. I had him actually speak to one of my calls during my checking calls with my team and my clients. And I'm always a student. So as he's talking about credit and leveraging it, I'm like, yo, this is actually some good information. So I was giving it to them, but I was also processing it. And we was actually talking one time. He's like, yo, you could help so many people. So I was referring people to him, to get funding. people to get credit repair. He's like, so many people, you already have a brand. You actually can help them, even more with, helping them financially gain wealth, generational wealth or starting that. And it didn't really hit me at first. And I'm like, yeah, he probably just saying that because, he's a positive guy. But I really was processing as I kept running into these issues outside of my clients of, financial struggles of people just not knowing anything. They just know how to get a job, know how to work, and maybe have a little bit saved up. They don't never know the life of abundance and how to leverage and how to use other people's money.
Facts.
So we had a meeting. We went out for dinner, we talked about it. And I was like, I think it was too many reoccurrences coming up for me. I'm a type of person, like a lot of stuff is a sign. So I paid attention to those signs, and that's the same sign I had when I dropped out of school, when I said I wanted to do training. It was the same feeling. So I'm like, I can't ignore this. He's like, well, what you gonna do? He's like, if you're going to space, you're gonna have to give up something. And
wow.
That was a hard question. I already knew I answered before I even, sat down with him, because what he was able to do for me is to provide information through his course and his mentorship. So I was like, I got to give up training. And he looked at me as if I cursed him out. Like, what you mean? I'm like, I know I'm gonna have to give that up, in order to gain more. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I wanted the great, but you got to give up the good for the great. And literally, that was in January. I started taking his course around February. And I didn't probably finish like March, April. Then I funded myself $250,000.
Whoa! You say you funded yourself how much?
$250K.
Sheesh! How much credit did you have before that?
Before that, I had one business credit card for like $20,000 that I used like to purchase my bands. So I've been in the experience of leveraging credit. So when I didn't have no cash, I actually used my credit card to purchase my Team KB bands.
Yeah.
And what I did was I bought a couple, sold them, made profit, doubled back and bought more. And that's why they still the best bands out there, made of vibranium. And so I had my experience of leveraging credit and knowing how to use it, but not at that magnitude, because I only had one business credit card before his mentorship. So as I'm acquiring this credit, I'm just like, I could really, invest or have the opportunity to invest. And that was the part that amazed me, doing it for myself and seeing it for myself, know how much other people I could help with it. So I had about maybe 40,000, 50,000 on the personal side and 20,000 on the business side. So now that's still a lot of access to funds, right? So going from 20 and 40, 60,000 to 250, like what's going on in your mind as your access to the capital is increasing? Like, is that exciting, or you like how you feeling? It's exciting, bro. I was like, I'm about to go to Saks and cash out. Nah, it was surreal, because it's like, when you learn something new, you're excited to see if it works. So as I'm implementing the steps, and just because my profile was actually already set and I had the business history, because I started my LLC, I was training for 10 years, but I started my LLC in 2015. Okay. So most people, they have an Instagram business, but they'll never legitimize it. So being that it was already legitimized, I had the history, that gave me the benefit when it came down to funding, because I had the history of my business, and also had, the bank statements to follow up with it. So the bank is like, what, we can give you, 25K, another 30K, 40K here and there. So it was just the perfect time for me to apply. So the good thing about it is that
your credit was what score?
Listen, man, Discover, they're predatory to kids that's like out of high school.
550 is different though, bro. How did you do that?
So with that being said, if you don't know how to use credit, you'll use it for the wrong things. So being that I didn't have a job and I had access to $750, I'm like, I'm gonna get a job. I'm still trying to get one. And that was the summer that, some of you didn't accept me. And they accepted you.
So the guy, a nigga like me, was employed.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get a job, but I'm like, yeah, I gotta get some new sneakers. It's summertime, buying sneakers. Next thing you know, yeah, I gotta buy some food. Yeah, I gotta buy this. And then now, before it's even maxed out, they increased my limit to $1,250. So it was a blessing, but if you're still not making money to pay it back down, it just keep adding up.
Yeah.
And as time went on, discover, it took them about 6 years to get that money back from me.
Jeez.
So yeah, I learned early on how to mess up your credit, and I learned early on how to fix it, far as in, making negotiations, get a pay for deletion letters so stuff could get actually off your report. And yeah, I built it up back to like 700, 750, 770.
So what would you say to somebody that like has really bad credit right now and they don't know what to do? Like they're embarrassed about it because, bro, that's very bold of you to share with the world. You had a 550 credit score. So I know there's somebody listening that's like, damn, that's me. Like that's my credit score right now. And they probably are too embarrassed to share that.
Well, the first thing is to stop using them. And before you even get into technical, stop using them. Also, limit the amount of expenses that you have. So most people don't think about the simple things. They want like, how can I get this off? Change your habits first. So I would say, stop using them. Also, too, figure out ways to make extra money.
Yep.
Cancel any subscriptions you're not using. It's a lot of subscriptions that we got with Apple that, it just hit us every month that we forget about. And then far as on the practical side, you can, send letters on your own behalf to the credit bureaus, reporting, the information. Or what I say, people pay for speed is get a credit specialist.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Or you can DM me as well, and then we'll set you up, and get your profile right. But you want to check your credit score. You could use Experian.com or Identity IQ, because you want to see exactly where you're at. Most people, the credit is bad. It's like, I don't even know where it's at. It's like, well, damn, how bad is it that you don't want to check?
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't like facing the facts because they feel like a failure, feel like a disappointment. But credit can always be fixed. Like there's no credit report that's not even bad. Even if you got bankruptcies, collections, all that could be removed. There's so many different consumer laws out there when it comes down to, working on your behalf.
Yeah, and I feel like a big thing, KB, that some people have a hard time with is just facing the facts. Like, bro, sometimes you gotta like listen to the music, right? Like if your credit is really bad, just the first thing is accepting it, reviewing it, and thinking about the next steps. Same thing with like, we've all been in situations where our bank account got very low, or your bank account is going down, and you just don't want to look at it because you have more money going out than you have coming in. Right. So I feel like that's, facing reality is the first step in changing your situation.
Yeah. And so it's essential and it's needed for growth. So most people are like, cash is king, credit is just debt. Nah, it's been on how you use it. So these are a lot of different myths that we have been passed down to us. And a lot of people fear it because they only use credit, to get their TV, their couch, or their car. And they're like, I can just pay it over time. They use it as like layaway.
Yep.
But when you use it for a business where you want to get assets, meaning you want more money coming in instead of just buying liabilities with money coming out, then now that's how you play the game of leveraging. And that's what funding is about, is taking what you have, going to the bank, getting, access to the capital, put it into an investment. And with the investment, whatever profits you have, you pay back your original cost, your principal, and you keep the profit. You get a little bit to Uncle Sam.
Got you. And then, bro, so we at the 18-minute mark, right? So I want to get back into your story of when you made this transition into credit. You first funded yourself $250K. What happened next? Like, how did you become established in the credit industry? Like, were you making money from the jump, or like, how did that go?
Nah, that's it. I wasn't making no money from the jump because I'm a trainer still at heart. Gotcha. So I didn't make money till I helped my first person, just how I did with training. So when it came down to it, I had to believe that I knew what I was doing, even though it was new to me. And I had to have that confidence, like, I'm gonna make sure that we're gonna get it, situated, because I did it for myself. I could do it for you too. And I did a lot of calls with different people, offered them to, do it at a low rate, and people wasn't receptive to it. I even offered free training for certain people for 3 months if they got funded, through me. And everybody wanted to do it. I had a lot of comments, but nobody was actually ready, or they didn't know what investment they were trying to do. But it wasn't until June. So February, studied. My grandfather passed. That would put a dent in my journey. March, April, now I'm back into it. May, I started with this client, and then June, she got funded about $100K.
Wow.
And the process of that, before I even, got my first funding client, I learned how to create LLCs. And I remember I was talking to you about it.
Yep.
I was more excited getting paid for a $300 LLC than making, I think I did like 27 grand that month.
Yeah.
Training.
Yep.
And you was looking at me like I had 4 heads on me.
Yeah, because you know what was crazy about that story, bro? When you told me, we just were talking about how I think the beginning of that year you had, a 20+K month in January, and things was going great in training, bro. Like, that was your best month, if I'm not mistaken. And then when you told me, it was like, yo, I just created someone LLC and I made $300. I'm like, and like, bro, there's bigger fish to be caught. But I think what most people forget, and even what I forgot in that moment, because I was still, consumed in my current career at that point, is the excitement, the new thrill of doing something new. It could have been $100, but it was making $100 in a different way than what you were used to.
Yeah, I think the most powerful thing for me is like, I was on a Zoom call one night. I actually created my own LLC, Infinite Wealth Strategies LLC. Okay. And then the next day I told people about it. And then the next day someone reached out to me, was like, yo, KB, can you help me? It was actually one of my training clients. And I'm like, yeah, I got you. And I wasn't as nervous because I just did it for myself, but it was just like, I'm doing it for somebody else, so I can't mess this up. I could mess up my own thing, but I can't mess up somebody else. And she was like, just so thankful. And being that it was something new that I could implement like right away, that's what was so powerful for me. And to know I could do this for other people. It was like when I got first paid, for training. And that's when I knew something was off, where it's like, yo, you did the best month you ever did in training, but you don't even feel fulfilled about it. And you just created something new. And it wasn't even nowhere close. It's $300. You go talk about 27 grand compared to $300. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And that's how I knew it wasn't about money for me.
Wow.
And that's what really made me dive deep in and truly what I want, and what I want from 5 years from now, what I want 10 years from now, and how I want to be viewed. Because I already knew, like, I love training, but I never just wanted to be the fitness guy. And that's why I always did more things, modeling, acting, real estate, nonprofit for my community. So that never was good enough for me just to have that title.
Yeah, bro. I think growing up, you and me, we've always been serial entrepreneurs. So it was like always wearing multiple hats and figuring out your lane. And I was, it was interesting when you made the transition, because you have built a brand. Your handle is not called KB the financial literacy guy, KB the credit guy. It's called KB the trainer. So your brand was all about fitness. So to see you make that leap of transition, I felt like that was very brave of you, and with Infinite Wealth. So I'm looking at your shirt, it's in the background. What does Infinite Wealth mean, and what made you choose that name?
The name stood out to me like instantly, because there's so many different ways, one, where people perceive wealth, and there's so many ways to accumulate it. So you could be in, real estate, you could be in stocks, you could be in trucking, you could be in coaching. There's so many different ways to accumulate wealth. You just got to figure out what's one way for you. So, and when my clients come, they usually think it's one way of going about funding. It's like, no, there's infinite ways how we could go about it, but we need the best funding for you. And the strategy part is just like everything that I do, since I was young, was always strategy. It's like, you could have the tools, you could read, the rule book, and I used to read the game books when it came to 2K. But at the same time, I gotta have
you was trash in 2K, but
no. 2010, I was nice. But you gotta have strategy with it. So it just made sense to me. It's like, yo, Infinite Wealth Strategies LLC, where it's like, nah, we going to strategize how we gonna get you this wealth.
And you know what's crazy? I never even really paid attention to the strategies part in the name. I've only really paid attention to Infinite Wealth. But again, that's why we do this stuff. So like that way people could understand what the whole meaning behind of the name is, right? So another transition, bro. All right, so you're in the credit space now. You know, you funded yourself $250K. You funded your first client. So like, did you start making money? Like how, when you fund someone, how do you make money? Like how did that process go?
So the best way I like to tell people is that we get paid on the back end. So we don't charge, any processing fees, any upstart fees. And that's the due diligence to us to make sure we get the funding that you receive. So when it comes down to funding, we get a percentage on the back end. So some people charge 15, 20, whatever your market is, but we only charge 10%.
Wow.
So if someone gets funded, 100K in funding, I usually tell them to do 110. So they have the whole 100K for their investment. And then they pay me out, the 10%, which is 10K. So, yeah, I didn't make, and that was the crazy thing about it. First quarter of last year, there's the most I ever made, like ever in training. That second quarter was the least I ever made, ever in training.
Dang.
So, we talk about a roller coaster. It was like, it went all the way up, came all the way down, and just flatlined for like 2 or 3 months because I really wanted to give it my all. Because being that I was always doing multiple things, I'm like, I'm not going to get better if I don't lock in. Now, I still was taking clients. I mean, I was still training at the time, but I wasn't taking any new people. Like after June, and I made that announcement, it took me like 2 weeks. Because shout out to my shooter, Zay Visuals. He's like, yo, when you going to drop the video? I'm like, yo, I'm going to drop it. And I didn't really want to tell the world. And my mind was already made up. People in my circle already knew what was going on. But I was so afraid to tell the world that I'm actually retiring. And I got a lot of love, a lot of hate messages, a lot of KB, you sold out.
Damn, hate messages?
Yeah, they wasn't real.
I was like that.
It was, you got some fake ones in there. But when I actually, let that out, it was like 15 pounds off my chest. And people respected my time more though. So they appreciate that time more. And I had people that watched me for 5, 6, 7 years on Instagram and started training me after that.
Wow.
So when people know that, they don't have the access to you no more, FOMO kicks in, which is the fear of missing out. And I tell people, like, if you still train me now, you still get results. I promise results in 4 to 8 weeks. So if we got 6 months, let's make the best of it. And, that was my approach. And as time kept going on, like it was, I had 3 clients that owe me money. I wasn't even thinking about it. What? That's how much I was locked in with like, yo, I need to get this funding down. And
bro, the old KB don't let nobody be running around with unpaid invoices. That's different. You was focused.
I was super focused. And she was like, and I went back to my Stripe account. I'm like, hold on. I'm like, yo, you ain't paid me since June. It's September. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, all right, we got to do something about this. Like, we got to set this arrangement up.
Nah,
I can't train you no more.
She was doing.
But because it was one of those things where I was there, I was physically training, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I just became so seasoned where I already knew exactly what my clients are going to do. Where it's like when you're young and you're training, you're trying to be like overtrained and tell them, yo, you got to do this, you got to do this. And they were so used to me. And it's like, yo, I need you to do 20 squats over here, 10 over here. You're going to feel it right here and you're going to want to give up, but I need you to do 5 more here. And when she's done, then y'all going to switch. So it was just like an OG training, everybody. And I didn't have to do much. They respected my word and they trusted me. And it was still dope though that I'll be able to go out with a solid amount of clients. So I probably was training like 10 people, then it was like 6 people, and then now it gained down to like 4 or 5. And I was actually cool with that because I was giving them all. I wasn't giving no trash workouts. I was giving them something new. Whatever I wanted to ever get out, I make sure I take it out on them and just give them, everything. So, it was fun. It was definitely a great experience. And I got to have those more intimate conversations because it was a minimum amount of people.
So I guess my son that just came to my mind, looking back on it now, do you feel like you're happy you made this transition? Like, do you have any regrets about this?
Nah, I think it was one of the best decisions I ever made besides, dropping out. Literally.
Wow.
Because within this past year, nearly funded $2 million to Black-owned businesses.
Whoa.
So, and this is just my first year of doing this. I've helped, multiple people, create LLCs. It probably helped like 20 entrepreneurs create LLCs last year. And then, the funding of $2 million, a lot of my clients, they never experienced to be able to make money outside of their job. So if I have someone to get a message like, yo, you got paid, we know what that feeling feels like, since eBay days in high school.
Yep.
But somebody that's been working, 40, 50 hours every year, for the last 10 years, for them to make a extra $1,000 a month, it was life changing for them. So to bring that, we could bring that experience to them, or I could bring that to someone else. That means everything to me. Clients starting their Airbnb, clients start, their own digital marketing agencies, clients start, trading. And it's like, I was a part of that. And I think, one of my, biggest success stories since then is my client, Fee Noel. And she created, she has her own boutique in Brooklyn, New York. And she's a big brand in the fashion industry. And going to her actual launch, seeing all the people there and talking to her, she's like, yeah, you are one of the reasons, that I could have my dream come true. And that feeling is like, it's a magnitude, it's the same feeling that I can help somebody, change, lose weight, but just at a different level where it's like, yo, I can physically touch this. This is an actual place. Other people get to see what's going on. So, and then it's not going to fall off in 6 weeks.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you about, bro, because I remember you telling me and, sharing with everybody that you help someone get their own space. So how did that happen? And, what made her reach out to you?
It's actually through a referral. One of my great clients that's affiliate of my brand. And she's like, assistant to me. I told her you could help me out because you helped me out, and I help her with her investment. She has a peer space in Brooklyn, and that's the thing, by doing great service, it always will lead to referrals and repeated customers. So once I helped her out, she referred her friend to me. Like, no, don't go to anybody else. Trust me, KB will take care of you. And it was so funny because she never seen me before. She never seen my Instagram. None of that. It was just off a phone conversation, having a regular consultation like everybody else. So the launch party was the first time I actually saw her.
What?
Yeah, and it was like some of the movies. Like, she's like, "Are you KB?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Wait, and did you see her before y'all met? It sounded like
I saw her page on Instagram. I had to scope out,
Okay.
I always scope out my clients still. But it was just so dope because we all been in communication for the last, 3 months, back and forth every other day. And with funding, you get a lot of people's business and financials. So, she trusted me without even actually physically meeting me or seeing me. It's based off, the information I was providing her and the service I was providing her.
And probably because of the way that y'all was connected because of the
referral.
Yeah, bro. So I think everybody listening needs to really remember that point or write that point down or take that point away is that relationship, right? That new client they trusted you based on the word of someone else. That's the main reason why a lot of us, we go to different restaurants, we watch certain movies. It's based on someone saying, yo, I recommend this to you, or I recommend this person to you, and you're just going off of the trust you have with someone else. So you got to do good by these people, because if not, you're burning a relationship, that person and the referral.
Yeah, that's a fact. I always say, two things, like you're solid just as much as your referral, or your referral is a reflection of you. So I always want to give an even extra little bit of due diligence when I know the referral came from another referral. So this way, you know, my business can always be approached the right way. And the same thing I did with training is like, I had one client, she literally brought me like 10 people through the chain of command. So when it came down to it, it's so funny when we was in a session, all of them was actually in the same class together.
Wow.
So I ended up helping her, you know, train her, get her right in 2 weeks. She referred a friend. Then you got people that was following her, went to school with her, but don't really talk. She ended up coming like, oh, I see you posting one time. So it's like, that's the power of social media when it's used right with great business, that you always want to treat, you know, your customers with great service. And if you do mess up, because we do mess up as entrepreneurs, we don't have perfect, then you compensate that. So whether you got to, you know, take some money off, whether you got to expedite a certain type of service, you want to really do business with people and really make sure they're taken care of. And then the numbers are going to be always taken care of on the back end.
Damn. And then KB, I got a question, bro. Like, as you made this transition into the financial industry, right? I think there's a lot of entrepreneurs that's listening that they want to make a transition, or someone that's working a job, they want to make a transition, but they're scared. So I don't know if you feel comfortable being vulnerable, but like, as you made the transition and even when you were in the credit space, did everything go perfect? Were you confident on this entire process as you were getting people funding?
Absolutely not. There was a lot of second guessing within myself of I'm able to actually be this person. But I always refer back to the be, do, have theory. So, you know, be who you want to be and do what you have to do in order to be that person. So there was a lot of different struggles along my first year of transitioning. For one, you know, with my first client, her asking me like, you think this is gonna work? And I'm like, I believe so. Like, it has to work. So even from her, I learned from the certain mistakes. So that most people are afraid of messing up. It's like that's the only way you could really learn most of the time.
Yeah.
And you don't blatantly want to make mistakes. Of course, nobody does, but that comes a part of the journey. So what we have this thing in funding the lingo is certain data points. So if you know, this did not work based on this client's profile, and then now you're collecting data points of what's not going to work. So it just makes you smarter for the next client. So my first client took about almost like 45, 60 days to actually get, the funding that she wanted to get. And her profile was ready. But the next client was much quicker. I was able to get it, 5 weeks, 4 weeks. And then I learned about, different banks. I'm always studying, different ways to get lending. But yeah, there was a lot of moments where I second guessed myself, like, maybe I should just went back to training, or maybe I should just really take a step back and do something else. Or there were second guess moments. But however, that's what I always thought I felt like the rookie and the vet, because me training 10 years didn't help me be a person that could help do business funding, but it did help me continue the journey with my brand and understand the obstacle when it comes to entrepreneurship. Because most people think like you go with the same confidence, but this is a whole different space. It's a whole different ballgame. And you're talking about bigger numbers here, and you don't have that face-to-face with somebody. So there's a lot of clients who was very annoying that actually helped my process.
What do you mean by that?
So when it comes down to credit repair or business funding, you have to be in communication with your client, or they have to know the exact steps they need to do. So for example, if you don't pay your bills on time, that plays a role on your statement date, and it plays a role on your report. So it can drop your score 30, 40 points. So if you're like, oh, I'm ready to go, we're ready to start funding, you go take your wife out on a nice dinner, you buy, take her shopping, and then you forget what day it is, and your credit report updates the next day. Now your 750 drops to 690.
Wow.
And it's like, I was just trying to do something nice for my wife. Bro, you did it at the wrong time or used the wrong card. Mm-hmm. So now we have to wait a whole nother 30 days to start applying, because we don't want to apply when you have a minimum credit score. We want to apply when you're at your best.
Damn.
So, it's very technical when you can spend certain money, and also you want to make sure, you don't have any late payments pop up, any things of that nature that can stop the process of funding.
So what would you say to somebody that's listening that wants to make a transition? They want to do something different, but they're scared because they're not sure if it's going to work.
Do it scared. Literally, do it scared. That's the best way to put yourself in a fire, to learn. Also, of course, do it with calculated risk and mentorship, so you can limit those pitfalls. But even by having a mentor, you're still gonna be scared, like, because the mentor is not going to actually do the work for you. They're going to guide you, if they're a great mentor, into a leadership role. But yeah, you gotta do it though. If you don't, you're gonna live with that regret. So I'm the type of person, I'd rather go out swinging if I'm gonna go out, but I never officially go out, like, because I still swinging.
Yeah,
that makes sense. So yeah, I can't. And so that was another thing a lot of people approached about, like, yeah, you double back 3 or 4 times before I even made one move.
Damn.
And I never thought about that in the power of, like, really rebranding yourself, because people always come to me for training, but now it's like, yo, this is the funding guy. He's the funding guru. He can get you this amount of funding, get you 250K, 300K. And I'm just like, yo, how did I do that? And it was just the consistency over time, where people respect it as you continue to grow your brand and consistent with your content, consistent in your actual message. So, even with that, I invested in the real estate. I bought land, with funding. I'm selling a property right now in Brooklyn. So it's like, you don't just want to have the fun, you actually want to use it. It's not powerful till you actually use it. So, I had some investors that did fell through. I'm not gonna lie. It's a couple of those you got to charge to the game,
Yeah.
But that's a part of life, and that's a part of entrepreneurship, especially. The reason to be an entrepreneur, it says you take risks more than the average person, higher than others, hoping to get a return. That's basically what it is. It's not you being on a yacht. It's not you being, in a club with all the bottles. It's not what you just having most designer on. Like, it's really you taking on risk greater than yourself for financial gain.
Yeah, and I think that, that's key. That's very, very vital for people to understand, is the game of entrepreneurship. You got to be okay with losing. You got to be okay with taking that risk, and kind of exactly what you said in the beginning is like, yo, make it a calculated risk, right? That's the key aspect. So I guess the last couple of things, I want to touch on before we wrap up this episode is, as you made a transition into funding, what did you learn about yourself? Did you pick up any new hobbies? I think you posted you in a new relationship. Like, a lot has happened in KB's life. So, kind of share with us, like, how that looked.
Yeah. And I think that's what's the dope part about it. It's been a lot of newness in my life. So, yeah, I mean, for starters, I'm definitely in a new relationship. I'm blessed. She's an entrepreneur too. And shout out to Shirley Beats. Yeah. And by being in that, it's been a blessing for me, because we're on the same type of timing. And we can talk about everything that we know that we're doing. So whether it's business, whether it's, just family stuff, vulnerability, and really talk about our actual finances. Like, this is the most vulnerable I've ever been about, yo, this is what I have. This was what's going on. I just lost 30K on this investment. I lost 40K on this one. I just made 50K here. So it's like, you want to have a partner that you can be transparent with. It's hard for, a lot of Black men to be transparent, even with ourselves. Yeah. So with that being said, that's one of the big changes. 2, I learned swimming last year.
Yeah.
I've been putting on my goal list for the last 6-7 years. So I actually got an instructor, got a mentor, and I just started practicing. And it was pretty dope to actually make it to both sides of the end of the pool. So me document that, something I almost drowned twice in my life. So I'm still not a pro yet. I'm not swimming in the beach, but as long as my feet touch the ground, I'm good.
That's it. And you gonna be competing with swimming, or it was just like something to do because it was something to do?
Nah, it's more like survival.
Okay.
But this year my new thing is boxing. I literally was going on my daily walk, and I stumbled in the gym. Like, it was like free lesson. sign up. So I've been doing that for the past 3 weeks, and I love it. Like, it's addicting. I always want to learn the technique. I know how to defend myself, but I want to know how to really counter. And if I gotta use these hands when I need to. But it's been dope. It's really been a stress reliever, and I look forward to it every week. Since I started. So between that, I would say too, like even my family, like I've been spending more time at home, being that I don't have to be committed to meet someone anywhere. I still have calls and stuff like that, but I can still be home, spend more time with my niece. So yeah, it's been a really different way. I had to find out my schedule, like recalibrate what I wanted to do. Shout out to the championship planner.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything has really been new for me, and it's dope, and I like new. And it's only going to continue to grow. And I look at my life in chapters. So that chapter is closed. I still offer virtual training for those on the Team KB app. But however, right now it's just straight business funding and real estate.
Yeah, bro. And I feel like that, if anybody goes back and look on, episode 1, of everything you were talking about, of what was going on in your life then, and compare it to episode 48, comeback season, it's so crazy, bro. Like the reason, a big part of why we do this is so people could see the growth in us and the growth of what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. You got to be okay with pivoting. You got to be okay with, trying new things and becoming a better version of yourself. So to be honest, bro, the last couple of months, I could tell you've been happy. Like you went through phases where things wasn't going perfect. We went through our own internal problems, but every time I see you do something new and it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that you could conquer, bro, I could see the excitement, and I feel like that's what most people are fearful of doing. Is like, they'd be like, yo, if I do it, what if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good at it? What, and all of the what ifs, they play the what if game.
What if it does work?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. And I feel like that's what most people, they forget. But what separates you and me from the majority of everyday people is we always say, what if it does work?
Yeah. And one thing I want to say too, that, it's not just the money, because at a point in time last year, I would say third or fourth quarter, I was making money with funding more than with training. But however, I still wasn't fulfilled because a lot of people wasn't carrying out the plan that we had. So imagine making the most amount of money you ever made in a period of time, but feeling bad about it and feeling like almost resentful. And that's because, I'm not responsible for their investment. I'm not their business partner. However, I want to see my people win so it could lead to a testimonial. It could lead to success. And, because you get access to this capital and you don't know what to do, you could end up in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
And you could be in a worse position. So if you get 100K today, you don't not sure how to use it, bad investment or just bad spending, now you negative 100K. Before you was negative 5,000. Now you got 100K bill on your head. So
some people can't recover from that. And that's the scary thing, bro. People like you and me, we can recover from being down 40, 50, 60, even $100,000. Yeah. But the average person that you just taught how to do credit, they can't, most people, I don't see them recovering from that.
Yeah. So during that time frame, I went through like a mini depression because it's like, damn, this is something that I took a risk on. I had my roller coaster of a high. Now I'm at an ultimate low because these people they're in worse positions. But then I literally took a step back for like 2 months of figuring out it's not what I'm doing, it's who I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. And I see some other days, like most people say, I feel like I'm helping somebody, but nobody's appreciating it. No, you're just helping the wrong people.
Yeah.
So when I took a step back and focused on established entrepreneurs, or my vetting process is even stronger now, I'm not going to just fund you 100K just because you got a 700 credit score. Like, you literally got to have a plan, and these strategy calls is that I'm going to drill you as if I'm going in an investment with you, because I want to make sure that you're good, and it could lead to more business, and you could be another successful in a success story.
Yeah.
So that was another part that, I had to take a step back from. And then I'm like, that's how I'm gonna go about it going forward. So now it's like my income was just playing around. Like you think somebody was just robbing me while I had I had gambling issues. Because it's like, yo, you did 100K in 3 months. And then from the 100K in 3 months, you do another 40, 50. Now you're doing zero for the next 6 months. So it was a lot of different transitions where it's like, thank God I got credit, one. But two, this is a part of the game. And you got to continue playing the game because once you stop playing, it's over.
And I remember you saying that, bro. I remember you say, "Yeah, I made $100,000 in 3 months," and then you felt like after you hit that milestone, almost everything went wrong. Like you had to pay money for this, you had to put 50,000, 40,000 in that, and most people they don't realize that, bro. They don't realize when you reach a new height, a new level of accomplishment, that's where you start to receive new battles, new challenges.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I thought I was gonna keep going up.
Yeah, we all do, bro. That's the game of entrepreneurship. When we're winning, we think the winning is never going to slow down or stop, and it is not until we get to rock bottom that we realize, yo, the next time I get to that peak, I'm gonna play my cards a little bit more strategically.
Yeah, that's a fact. And the other part too, since I last up, so I've been traveling a lot more. So shout out to the different stamps and the trips, because that's the thing about leverage your credit. You learn how to travel for free or at a discounted rate. So by using these points for rewards, it gave me the ability to do that. And that has been a game changer for me as well. Very new, because I didn't have my first vacation until I was 21, and that was to Atlantic City. So if Atlantic City, it's a place to go to. It's a little getaway, but it's not a real vacation
At all.
You got to agree with me.
Yeah, no. We just keep it at 100. I mean, like, let's state the facts. KB was a late bloomer, but once you start blooming, you couldn't be stopped.
Yeah. So last year I traveled about almost every month. This year I got like three, 4 trips in the bag. So it's a blessing, man. It is learning new things, acquiring new skills, meeting new people, having new relationships, and just enjoying the process. That's what entrepreneurhood is all about.
Yeah, bro. And as we wrap up, here's kind of what I want you to do and share with the audience, right? So your final takeaway for how you want to share with everyone is, what's next? What does KB have next? And, what's the final message you want to leave with everyone that for the community of entrepreneurhood?
I would say what's next is actually creating a dent in my community when it comes to financial literacy. Same way I did with fitness, but I wanted to try and do it like 10 times more, as far as teaching more to the schools, teaching more to the parents, we teach more in the community, and giving them the knowledge and information that has been missing. So I'm really excited about that. One of the first things I'm going to do is release my ebook. It's called Funding Facts ebook. That should be released soon. And I just want give people the game before they even think about getting funded. So it's basically a to-do list of what you need beforehand, before you can start going after these 100K, 200K plays. And then from there, I have another ebook set up called the funding cheat sheet, where it gives you the exact data points. So it's like I'm creating a step-by-step guide for people to follow. And if you my saying is like run the play, and then basically run the play is implementation. So you could have all the courses, you could have all the webinars, you could go all the network events, but if you don't actually implement and run the play from these things, then you will never be powerful. You'll never be successful. You'll never have what you want to have. So that's coming next. More real estate investments coming next. We have land. I have like 45 acres of land. So it's a lot of power moves, but I'm learning how to have a poise. Being 30 is taking step by step, and taking that step by step is like, if you want to grow wealth, it's more patient. Now, if you want to get rich, all right, we could do that. Like we we know what that looks like. But to grow true wealth and really make certain investments, putting things in trust, getting life insurance, all of those things is very important that I want to teach people along the way as I'm learning it. So I'm excited for what's coming next. Also, create more content with you, my brother.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurhood. And we just want to really give the real, with our episodes and give it the highs and the lows of entrepreneurhood.
Yeah, bro. And I think that's the key. People need to see that you're becoming an author, bro. Like you're improving on your writing style and you're attacking the game in written form to share your message, because so much gems are in books, but us in the Black community in written form, we don't pay attention to that. So I'm glad that you're taking that leap into sharing your new writing style and improving on it. So I guess the last thing, KB, is what's the final message, man? What's the final message for everyone in the neighborhood?
Whatever you do it. Like whatever you desire, but you have to identify first exactly what you want for yourself. So many people can tell you should do this, you should do that, but spend that time alone. And I think by me spending that time alone in my thoughts and writing things down, talking to God, it really gave me the clarity to make that move. Everything is not always going to be laid out for you, but as you take the step, you'll start to see, things come along. And I think that probably has been the biggest thing for me, where me just taking a step is the first move. So it's your move. The world is waiting on you to show your greatness.
Entrepreneurhood. Y'all heard it here first. The comeback season. Let's get it.
Anyone can start, but only champions finish. Now that you've completed this episode, you're ready to continue your journey by connecting directly with our hosts of Entrepreneurhood. Follow us on Instagram at The Entrepreneurhood to stay updated with the community. For each episode, the first set of listeners to tag us on Instagram and leave a 5-star review will be entered into a drawing to get a free one-on-one coaching session on the topic of entrepreneurship with our hosts. Remember, there is no shame in struggling, because we fail, we grow, and we win. Right here on Entrepreneurhood.